Well, good morning. Um, we are having a snowy morning here in Ashland, Virginia, which is the central part of Virginia. You might have heard some other news about us this week. We somehow made the national news about a raccoon breaking into a local liquor store. But anyway, that's something for a whole different video series. Um, I'm here to talk about something much more serious, obviously, and that is grief during the holidays. Like you, I am a bereaved parent, and so I have wrestled my way through the holidays. Some years, sometimes I've filled my schedule too full, so I didn't have to deal with my grief, experience my grief. Other times, I have backed out of events at the last minute. And so I just wanted us to be able to have an honest conversation. I invite you to share what your experiences have been, what you find helpful. Oftentimes, I feel that us sharing with one another can help someone. You don't know who might need your encouragement today. So, if you're a little bit further along in the journey, or even if you're new and this is your first holiday season without your child, know that we want this to be a community where we can share with one another and encourage one another and offer hope. So I just want to start with saying that I recognize that the holidays are very challenging and our grief can feel much more acute during this time because um, we're keenly aware of our child's presence not being here with us anymore. And so there are some things that we can do to help make it a little bit easier, but really making it easier isn't our goal. We are really, it's about honoring our child and remembering our child and still finding some peace and hope and hopefully some moments of joy in the season. So let me just start by saying planning ahead can be really, really helpful as we're grieving and navigating the holidays. And you might not know what that looks like. It's simply taking a moment to pause and think about what do I want this holiday season to look like? Maybe you're again in the throes of early grief and you can't even um, you don't have the ability, whether that's the strength, the energy, or the cognitive power to truly even think about what it might look like, and that's okay too. So I just want to give you grace and remind yourselves to be compassionate with yourself as well in this. But recognizing that the holidays are going to be different, considering what might be most helpful to you, and that's going to look different for each of us. I find it helpful to make sure I'm doing something to honor my daughter and to remember her. And that can look like serving someone else. Maybe it's a favorite activity that your child enjoyed doing. Someone recently shared that their child enjoyed packing boxes for Operation Christmas Child. And so she now continues to do that every year to remember her son. There are other kinds of activities. Maybe they were passionate about animals. And so you go serve in an animal shelter. There are all sorts of ways that you can do something to honor your child's memory. And so oftentimes that can be helpful during this time of season. It's often referred to as a season of giving. And so giving to others can take the focus off of us momentarily and also give us a way to remember our child and their legacy. Creating new traditions. I've struggled with this really. I don't know that I have been great about creating new traditions. Um, so I would invite others to share ideas. Again, maybe that new tradition is doing a service project in memory of your child, but make space for both the old and the new. If you're not in a place that you can still do old traditions because it reminds you of your child's absence, it's simply a reminder to give yourself permission to do something different. And maybe out of that different routine, you might stumble upon a new tradition that feels helpful and healthy in your season. Setting aside time to grieve. This is something that I have found particularly helpful. I have a playlist of music when I want to remember Ashlyn and her life, and I come and sit in a quiet place in my house. I close the door and I take about an hour and just listen to this playlist. And the music brings back all sorts of emotions. Um, and it's just a special time that I carve out to remember my daughter. That can be helpful because, one of my fears, and maybe this is yours, I don't know. One of my fears was that I would forget her And it's been almost 20 years, and now that feels a little absurd that that's where my thinking was. But I did worry that she was going to be forgotten. And again, part of that might have been because her life was so brief. She only lived for 3 days. But she is very much been carried forward in my heart and in my thoughts, and even my actions have been influenced by her life. And so my love for her lives on, and she will never be forgotten. So setting aside time to grieve can be helpful for some people. You might do it through going on a walk, journaling, listening to music, whatever feels comforting or appropriate for you. And then staying connected. It's easy to isolate during the holidays. I can remember, especially those early years where I was invited to a dinner or a party, and I would go and I could be surrounded by people that knew me, loved me, were involved in my daily life, and I felt absolutely alone, whether that was another grieving parent or whether that was someone else. And so I was tempted to isolate and not stay connected. And really, that's not our best decision. Obviously there are times that we need to do that for our own hearts and our space, but in general we want to make sure that we stay connected with people. And maybe that's other people who understand our grief. Maybe it's people who aren't going to who are just going to let us feel normal, if you will, and not have to talk about our grief. So you decide what that looks like, but try staying connected, at least with one other person. Taking care of yourself. Again, grief is hard work. It requires every bit of mental energy. It's not just emotional, it's physical. It impacts our emotions, it impacts our relationships, our finances, our spirituality. It impacts every aspect of our life. And so, really taking time to care for yourself, whether that's lighting a candle and sitting in a quiet, peaceful space, doing some deep breathing exercises, taking a hot bath. There are all sorts of ways to take care of ourselves. So make sure you're making space for that during the holidays. And then asking for help. It's okay to ask for help. Share with your family what your intentions are, share what your needs are. They may or may not understand. And again, that might be friends, not just family, it might be coworkers. Um, but by asking for help, you're not just giving someone else an opportunity to step into your life and do something that most people around us don't know what to do. And so by asking for help, you're actually giving them the opportunity to love you in a way that they're wanting to and in a way that's helpful to you. So asking for help is a good thing. It's also helps to educate other people what grief is like, especially the loss of a child. Most people have experienced some sort of grief in their life, and that's great, but sometimes it feels different having lost a child. And so by reaching out, communicating your needs, and asking for help, it can be an opportunity for someone else to learn about our experience as bereaved parents. So I would encourage you to also, and most importantly, remain flexible. Um, Gosh, if you think that you want to try to go to a party and at the last minute you just can't bring yourself to do it, that is okay. And that doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that you're not doing well. It just means that perhaps your emotions or your energy changed, and give yourself permission to do that. So, my prayer for you is during the holidays that that we look for moments of joy. They can indeed happen and coexist in the midst of our deepest sorrows. Um, that we look for hope, but that we also give ourselves a whole lot of grace, and allow us time to remember our child. If you want to drop in the comments your child's name, um, I'm always looking for opportunities to say other kids' names out loud as well as my own. And so we remember and want to honor your child as well. So I am praying for you during this holiday season. And before we know it, it will be January. For some people, um, that feels like an exhale, like you survived the holidays. But my hope is that we get to a point where we actually thrive during the holidays, not just survive. So know that I wish you the best, and hope to engage you in the conversation. Feel free to join us in the private Facebook group or the public Facebook group, wherever you might be viewing this, and continue the conversation. All right. Hope you have a lovely day.